So you may have watched an earlier video of mine where I've done a 90 in some steel trunking, and that I believe is the textbook version that you will find at your colleges, but best to consult with your trainers and lecturers on that. I'm not a bookworm, and there's probably some imperfections in the methods I shared in that video. This is very much an old school method that we're going to run through in this video, and yeah, it's one I was first shown. It's basically what I call the V-cut, and that'll make sense as you watch it. You can see here we have a little bit of a different finish where the plates come together and overlap. This method was the way of the past, I believe, because you could actually do it without measuring. You could just use a square to get your 90-degree cuts, which is obviously a fast and easy way for people to do it out on site. I'm very ring rusty on these. This won't be perfect, but for a first time out, literally just stopped for half hour, knocked that together. I've not done one, I think, since the last time I shared it on the channel, probably 3 years ago now, with some bigger trunking. I'll link that in the description if you want to watch it, because that one actually came out a little bit better than this. And yeah, we'll get to it. I'll have a look how this came together and show you the process. Can you make a 90-degree bend in some steel trunking, metal trunking, without a tape measure? This was one of the questions that came back after I shared the post the other day of what I believe to be the current textbook version. And this is an old school method that I was first taught way back, and I've always referred to it as the V-cut. And this is one you can do without a tape measure, just using your set square for 90 and 45 degrees. And basically what you do is find the center line of where you want your join to be, and then you need to form the V markings. So this is on the top side, and we're not actually going to cut this V out of here, but we're using it to find the outer edges of where we need to form the V-shaped cut on the rear of the trunking. So you can see here, again, we're now on the rear side of that trunking, and the V comes from those two outer markings we put on the top side and come back onto that center line. If we then go back to the top side where we first made that V marking, we can put the outer lines on, which is what we need to cut from the top of the trunking. So with the jigsaw here, I'm just going to nip out the V that we're popping in the front lip. And then I've swapped to the grinder here, and that's because the jigsaw blade was just catching the bottom of the trunking, which was very annoying. And yeah, we're cutting this top face of the trunking off. So again, going down those outer lines, filing away the back there. I've cut a lot of the filing out of this. There is lots of filing, but we need to get some weakness in the back of that there so we can snap this out. Now, you can, if you want, take this out in one piece, and I've got footage on my YouTube channel of me doing that before. But in smaller trunking, it's a little bit more difficult, and it's very easy to catch the edges of something that you don't want to and ruin your join. So again, we've got lots of filing, lots and lots of filing. Now we're going to grind out this back edge here. Now with the V-cut, we need to be careful around the front edge, because again, we don't want to put any marks onto the join. We're trying to just cut this V shape out. So it's gently, and it's a lot more difficult on the smaller size trunking. This is way easier on the bigger stuff, which is opposite to what you might think. But yeah, this is only 50x50, so it's a little bit tight. We can snap that V out then and put that to one side. We're going to need that later on. Back to the filing, much of it, deburring and filing. We don't want any sharp edges. And now we can form our shape and see how that actually came together. And look, be told, it came out all right first time. I've not done these in a while, so I'm quite rusty with it. It's a method that I don't really use. We're generally on prefabbed rather than manufactured anyway. With that little V piece, we're going to pop that into the back of the trunking, and that's what's going to hold it all into position. So you need to make holes and drill through. Pillar drills and somewhere away from the work material is usually the best method, but I'm showing it can be done off a simple workbench out on site. We're going to rivet it shut, and that's so we get those smooth rivets on the inside of the trunking rather than any nuts and bolts. We're using the rectangular piece that we cut out now to form a shape to bend across the front face of our trunking. So again, it's internal, and we're riveting that in to offer some more strength and hold it together across the join on the front side. Again, using the rivet gun, so this is the M12 one, and you know, it's giving a nice finish on the externals to the trunking, but also internal. There is no sharp edges, no bolts. We don't have to cut our bolts down or worry about getting nuts in or nuts out the wrong way around if we're using rivets. And it's a really tight and secure fixing for the long term. So I hope you found that useful during the run through there. As I say, it's way more difficult, I think, with your smaller sizes of trunking. And just to give you the comparison, if I put it the right way around, get it right. You can see we have actually formed two 90s. This is the bigger 75mm 3-inch trunking from the other video I mentioned. And I think it's way easier to get a nice finish the larger size you go. It's harder working with smaller materials, and everything's a bit closer together, so any fit imperfections are really obvious. I think that's come out quite nice. Quite happy with that. You can see there, it's actually formed a 90, which is the intent and purpose of the exercise. If you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up on this one if you enjoyed it. Give it a share if you think it might help somebody else. I appreciate most of us now are using prefab manufactured bends. In fact, most contracts will specify that. But if the times of COVID taught us nothing, you couldn't get them, knowing how to do this is still an important skill. They still teach it at college. And that's why I've made this little video here, just to show my approach of two different ways of forming your 90s. Thanks for watching.